Hi everyone. I got a lot of compliments on my Michael Myers costume for Halloween, so I thought I'd put together a quick video to show how I made it. So the first step was to pick out a mask. Every Halloween movie has a different mask. They're all slightly different. Some are more white, some the hair is a little different, some got more blemishes on the mask. So just pick out one that you like. I picked out this one from Party City, molded after the Halloween 6 mask. It's got more blemishes on it. It's not plain white like some of the other ones, so I liked it the best. Got it home, tried it on, and I like the looks of it. Now that we have a mask, it's time to get clothes. We need to pick out some coveralls, but we don't want the crappy coveralls you see at the costume stores. We want something a little more realistic, like what he wore in the movies. He wore different coveralls in each movie. You can do some research online to find out which movies he wore, what clothes in. But I picked out the gray Dickies coveralls like he wore in Halloween 6 because the mask I picked was from Halloween 6. You can pretty much go on eBay and find all the different coveralls that you would need. I found these for between 20 and 25 bucks, ordered them, got them home, tried them on. Was really happy with the way they looked. Looking really good. Just need one more thing to complete the costume, and that's the shoes. In each movie, Michael wore different brands and styles of just military combat boots. So you can jump on eBay again, and anywhere from 20 to 30 bucks, you can find a decent pair of used, scuffed up black military combat boots. Get them home, try them on, looking really good. Alright, next we needed a knife. I didn't want to get a cheap plastic or rubber knife that you see at the costume stores. Those look pretty terrible. I wanted to get something a little more realistic. In Halloween 1, Michael used a Lamson chef's knife. It's pretty big. And I saw a video on CostumeBot.com of a guy making his own prop knife based off of this. Basically using a scrap piece of metal, lay out a template on it, use a bandsaw to cut out the shape, take a couple pieces of Luan board, glue on the sides to make the handle, and put in some thumbtacks or rivets to complete the handle. Finally, use some dark wood stain on the handle to complete it, and I think the finished product looks really good. And since it's made out of a scrap piece of aluminum, there's no sharp edges on it like a real knife. The tip of it rounded off a little bit so it's not pointy, so it's not dangerous at all, but it's nice and heavy. It's metal. You can clank it against something and it sounds like a real knife. Now that the costume is basically completed, I wanted to add a few more details to the costume. Even though I bought the coveralls off of eBay used, they still come in pretty good shape. Looks like Michael could be walking out of JCPenney's with a brand new pair of coveralls. So I wanted to dirty him up a little bit, make it look like Michael's been through a few battles and so on. So I started off with a piece of sandpaper on a sanding block and scuffed up parts of the coveralls. Parts you'd expect to be worn a little bit more, like its elbows, knees, the cufflinks areas, maybe up on the shoulders a little bit. And that did a decent job of getting it started. But then to add to it, I wanted to add some dirt spots to it. So to achieve that, I took a couple pieces of sidewalk chalk that my kids have. I took one piece of brown, one piece of white, put them in separate little Ziploc baggies, crushed them up with a hammer until they were a powder substance, and then taking just a pinch, sprinkle it on part of the coveralls, and then just rub it in with your hands really good. And it makes a nice dirt spot. And then I used mostly brown, a couple spots of white just to give it a little different color. But I was pretty happy with the way that turned out. I also wanted to add some oil stains and blood stains to the coveralls. So to do this, I used some cheap acrylic paints. For the oils, I used black paint mixed with white to make it a dark gray. For the blood color, I used red and brown with a little bit of blue, and then I added just a little bit of water to water down the blood a little bit. I think it made a really good consistency. To put the oil stains on there, I used a sponge brush. It worked really good for kind of smearing on the stain and paints. Just in a couple of areas. I didn't want to overdo it on the oil stains. And then for the blood, I used a regular paintbrush with a couple different techniques. I did some flicking, dip the brush in the paint, and then kind of sling the brush towards the coveralls hanging on a hanger outside, and that would give a little blood splatter effect. I also In some spots, we just load up the paintbrush with paint and hold it above the coveralls and let it drip onto the coveralls, which look pretty good. I did that kind of around the cufflink areas where the wrists are. And then finally, I cut 3 small holes in the upper left shoulder and singed them with a lighter to make them look a little more like bullet holes. And then to make it look like blood coming from those holes, I loaded up the paintbrush with a lot of paint and just held the paintbrush up against those holes and let it just run off the paintbrush. So it kind of gave a dripping, bleeding look. I was pretty happy with the way it turned out. In the future, I might make the bullet holes a little bit bigger so it's a little more obvious what's going on there. But overall, I'm really happy with the way the whole costume turned out. And then finally, I smeared a little bit of blood on the knife itself to make it look like it's been used. That's it. I hope you enjoyed my video, and good luck making your own costume.